To my attempt at Weird Wednesday. We are making some adjustments to some additions to Cthulhu today. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try and find my pattern. It's the one thing I didn't get everything put together for. I am still here, but I have been working back and forth on so many different projects that I don't know where everything is at right now, which is really kind of annoying. I start off doing a few different things, and I thought I had it all set aside. I didn't wind up making a brand new pattern for most of this Cthulhu. Here it is. But I did make a hand. So, while I'm waiting for everyone to show up, see if anybody's interested, this is what we're making today. I'm going to go ahead and make the other hand. I had intended to do that while nobody was here. I was going to work on it between projects, but I am constantly making new mice. I'm constantly making new Pokemon, all kinds of different stuff. So what winds up happening is I wind up working constantly and not having a chance to get ahead of any of the other stuff that I'm working on. Which is a little unfortunate, but at the same time, it's a good thing because that means that I'm doing a lot of work. Now, while I'm doing this, let's see, I got some sketches here. I need to pull that up so you guys can see. What we are doing is I am working on, this is part 3 of making my Cthulhu. Hey, long time no see, Ruby. How are you doing? I, myself, am behind. Don't know if I'm super behind or just that light amount of behind that makes me feel like it. I ordered mouse. Do I message you through TikTok or Instagram? Sorry to add your workload. No, I'm more than happy to add to my workload. I'm just explaining that that's why I haven't done more than I thought I would do. Yes, message me here. That's a perfect place. You can send me comments, pictures, anything like that. We can do custom mice for you. And the thing about it is, the more information you have, the better I can do to get your dream mouse. But I am extremely happy to make a random mouse for you as well. I am working on doing some blind boxes. I've got a whole bunch of other things that I have done and I am starting to do for different things. Like, for example, adding stickers. I do digital artwork, so I do stickers. And I am doing photo shoots as well. So depending on what you want, we can do a lot of different add-ons for a lot of different things to make it a lot more fun for your plush. And I like to do them all themed in accordance to what it is that you've ordered. For example, I did a photo shoot for a vampire mouse today. And what I did was I took a picture of it in front of a mirror, and then using Photoshop, I edited it so that it looked like it didn't have a reflection. And things like that are just a lot of fun to add on. But here's the thing too. Everything I do, I try and do as reasonably priced as I can. So I don't force any of these things on it. It's like, yes, I could bump my price up and add all these cute cards and all these cute things to each individual order. So it's kind of an additional amount of fun. But then I have to charge for it. And I know that that's what happens. I know that whenever anybody orders anything from Etsy and custom makers, that what's happening is you're having to pay for the extra bits, and I love those extra bits. But sometimes I just can't keep up with it, and I have to put a price adjustment on it, which is fair, but it also makes me feel like doing the small mouse that I do for the princess mouse. It's so cute. Thank you so much. I did vampires as well. I just boxed it up, and I should have waited. It would have been a fun thing to show here. I do. I love to do this stuff. And that's kind of the thing about it. I have to say, all right, if I do this, it costs this much, and then I stop. But if I start adding all these little things, and I try and keep it as low and condensed as I can, but I'm working on setting the options up so that people can get more things that they want. I do these drawings. I do watercolors and oil paintings and photo shoots. And I love making all that stuff. But it winds up being a situation where the more I do, the more I'm going to have to plan for. And I love it. But so today we are going to be continuing to work on Cthulhu. This is day 3 of Cthulhu. So what we're going to work on today is while I'm getting warmed up and getting everybody here, I am actually going to start off by making the second arm. I only made one arm, and we liked the way it looked. It was cute, so I'm just going to make the second arm, and then we'll figure out the details on how much more details we're going to add. But we're going to add wings. We're going to figure out what kind of tail we want. We're going to decide if we want other kind of mutations and horrendous things that we're going to turn into cute versions of them. I also have an eyebrows that I'm going to put onto our head, because when we put eyebrows on, we discovered that adding something like an eyebrow really made it look really cute. So yes, that's not the right shape, so it'll probably be something real simple. But if we had eyebrows onto it, it wound up becoming a lot more cute and fun. So what will end up happening is once we get this pattern figured out, I can make like a cute or a pink one, and we'll have all these little details that we've already hammered out. I've had the opportunity to work with a few people as they're on here, giving me their opinions, and it's a lot more fun that way. I get to say, hey, I got a couple ideas. What do you guys like better? And it makes it a little bit more interactive and fun for me as well, which honestly is kind of the point. I love the idea of making art, but I also like the idea of kind of collaborating with people that are interested. And that's another thing I've been thinking about doing too. I see a lot of stuff like people do very similar things. And I thought it'd be kind of neat if I could find some other artists and we could put together a group thing. Like maybe there's somebody who does ceramics, and I could do a plush mouse, and they can do a ceramic mushroom that it sits on, and we can have all kinds of little things combined. I will. Are you gonna make it angry? See, is that so? Here's what I've done. Today, I made a Bulbasaur on Monday. My Pokemon, for example, this was meant to be Gengar. I had a whole drawing for it, but it came out so different that I turned it into a Mimikyu Gengar. So yes, I do have Pokemon. I don't know if I showed that earlier or not. But this guy is a Cthulhu. Today, for Weird Wednesdays, what I'm planning on doing is like horror-themed and creepy-themed stuff. So I've made this Cthulhu head on day 1, and then we started making the body for it, so that I can make this cute version of a Cthulhu, and we can start making adjustments together and see what we do and don't like. Silly man. I like it. Okay, let me go ahead and sew this hand together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to decide, do I want to do, as I'm working on this, if you guys will help me figure it out, do I want to start off by making some kind of feet, which I will show you the sketches for the feet in just a moment. Let me go ahead and sew this real quick. Do we want to work on the wings? Do we want to do the eyebrows now? I also thought about adding fins to the side of the head, and I will again show you sketches of that as well. Or is there something else that you guys would like to see on this cute Cthulhu? I will show you my sketches. I will draw up ideas if you guys have any. It's been a lot of fun to kind of build it slowly, but this might be towards the end of it. So we might be getting to the point where it's just a couple more things done, and then we will have a finished cute Cthulhu, which means that next week I will start working on a brand new creepy thing. And a new creepy theme is a good idea to start talking about too. I have thought about making like mutated bears, or making monsters from movies like, I've talked about this several times, Evil Dead Rise, the mutated version of the family in one giant plush. Part of what made me decide to do a cute Cthulhu was the movie Underwater. I know that movie did not do particularly well, but I love that movie. Where do I get the fabric from? Oops, sorry. It's expensive where I live. So a lot of times I have to order off of Amazon, and that's just this material. I do have some craft stores local that have a few things, but I get it. And especially right now with how everything is kind of seeming weird with shipping and everything else that's going on in the world, there's a whole lot of things that are happening that's going to make a lot of this stuff a little bit more expensive. I just kind of have some overstock for the time being. So what I'm doing for the most part is working with that. I don't know where you are. It might be expensive because of shipping, but for the most part, this Minky is what it's called, Minky. is it's the fuzzy stuff that I'm using here. Has been about $12 or $13 a yard, and it hasn't been too bad, especially since I make a lot of smaller plushes. So it's been going a long ways, but that's the best I could offer as far as the possibilities for it. I don't have some kind of bulk options that I've bought from. I'm still a small dude, so I don't have the option of having like big discounts by ordering hundreds of it. If I do get that option, I promise I will offer that up to you guys, so you can get discounted material at the very least at cost. But I don't imagine that's going to ever be a thing. I don't think anyone's ever going to be, oh no, it's that versatile deviant. Let's go ahead and do this for him. I'm trying though. I'm going to work like that's going to be the plan. Hey, Cat B, I was wondering if you're going to make it in. I love it when you make it in here. Cat B has been with me for quite some time. My very first Weird Wednesday was actually to start a project for them. It was a jumping mouse from Coraline. I had already done most of the design, but we spent that day making an outfit for the jumping mouse. I just smacked my light. Trying to get the light so it's not shining in my eye, but also not where I smack it all over the place. And Cat B has been extremely patient with me. I've been so busy that I haven't finished that jumping mouse either. And I probably should have just done that on another live. And in fact, maybe that's what I'll do if I finish today on this Cthulhu. I will just start whatever I haven't finished. I will start working on that mouse so that we can get that finished. All that's left is figuring out the outfit. And the outfit's not too far from done. It's just enough steps away that I can't say that it is done. But Cat B has been very patient with me. I would not be surprised if Cat B says, you know what? I've run out of patience for you. You're a horrible person. I just finished catching up on some other orders. That whole mind frame where sometimes you get kind of in your own head and you decide you can't work on something that you've been working on and that you know you could do. That kind of thing happens to me, and I know it happens to a lot of other people, and I just kind of get drugged down by it. But I am working very hard to not let that happen because I want to take this very seriously, and it's very important to me to be responsible and a good creator for people. I just saw a message. I'm very sorry to see what it is. Tinita. Sorry, every time I read your name, it takes me a minute to remember how to pronounce it, how I'm reading it. Give me one moment here. Try and get this without getting a tangled knot, which again, I don't know why that happens, but it does. Come on, you could do it. Now I'm trying not to get twisted again. Dang it. This was actually meant to be that I was trying to tie it, and now it's extremely tangled. This has become an increasingly annoying problem. It's always been annoying, but now it seems even more annoying. Maybe it's because I feel silly when it happens live, especially for something so simple. So he doesn't know what he's doing. You're right. I technically don't. I'm all self-taught, do my best to help people figure out things that I have learned, but it does not always work out. There we go. All right, let's try that one more time without the oopsie. And then I will come back to your message, Teeny. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see what I missed here. No problem, Violet. I'm sorry I can't be of more use to it. The jumping mouse was so cute. I sent the TikTok to my boyfriend to show him how cute it was. Thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it. Now, hopefully when it's done, it'll be even cuter. Isn't it so sad? Give your creative to someone else. Give your creation to someone else. Honestly, here's the thing about that. I have the side of me that is, I made this and it's mine. But I also have the side of this that says, I'm not making this for me. I've got paintings in the house that I would love to find a home for. And yes, I could probably give them away or do all this other stuff, but I want to find them a home that's reasonable, and I don't want them around the house. Same with these plushes. I love making these plushes, but I don't specifically need them. However, it's been kind of neat that my son loves them because that means he gets to play with the stuff that I make, and that makes it worth it too. So no, I wouldn't say it's sad. I think more nerve-wracking, because what winds up happening is I start thinking, is this good enough? Someone just paid money for this. Did I do a good enough job? And that makes me worry a little bit more. It's kind of probably silly, I'm sure, to some people, but that is one of those things. I mean, if I was just working some job, pumping out 1 million plushes a day, I wouldn't even care, because A, they're all the exact same, and I just got to do one step. But since I'm making these all by hand, and I know that not a single one of these plushes that I make are a necessity to anybody, I want to make sure that they're happy with it. And I want to do the extra work, and I want it to be timely, and I want them to get it and feel like it's something personal. So I go through all these extra steps. So no, I don't feel sad when they're gone. I just feel like I need to work harder, that I need to try better. And I don't know how to describe it any different than that. I do know what you mean, though. I've been in the situation at different times in my life where some of the stuff that I've created, I'm like, I'm keeping this. This is not going anywhere. And then I eventually get to the point where maybe somebody was interested in it, and I'm like, it's really hard for me to let this go. And then maybe I do, maybe I don't. It's been a lot of different circumstances. I was doing these live paintings where I was doing oil painting on plexiglass, and I just love doing those things. And I was doing them in front of people, and it felt like a totally different process because of that. So some of those, at one point in time, I was like, I'm really proud of this. I really don't know what I want to do with this. I don't know if I want to give it up or not. That's probably way more information that you were hunting for, huh? I don't know if that's too much information or not, but that's a lot of how I feel. All right, let me go ahead. And so if you haven't noticed, one of the things I like to do in my lives is I like to give kind of instructions and help people figure things out for themselves. So if I'm doing something and you happen to be curious as to what it is, let me know. I will happily slow down, adjust, change camera angles, which I probably need to do right now, so that you can see, and I will give you whatever information I can give you. And I say that because I just finished sewing up something, and then when I closed it up, I was like, well, I didn't explain that. Maybe that's something someone's curious about. All right, now I'm going to move this out of the way, and we are going to look at some sketches here. Oh, no. And here we go. Okay, so first thought, I kind of want to put these fins on the side of the head. Okay, that's one of the first things I remember drawing up when I was coming with different ideas. I also have the eyebrows, which we will do. Well, what I'll do is make a very simple eyebrow, and then we will adjust it to find out what kind of expression we want it to have. I also have feet. Now, the thing is about the feet, I'm not sure what I want to do with the feet. I had this sketch as well, but we're aiming somewhere for simple, but at the same time, we want it to look cute. And the last thing is, let's say I draw the head real quick here. We got the tentacles. So here's our head. Here's our body. I also have to make wings. Hello, do you have a tutorial on plushie making on TikTok? I want to learn to make plushies in the future. First off, anytime you have a question, cryptic T Owl. There we go. Cryptic T Owl. You can send me a message and I will help out. I've made videos for instructions on how to do all kinds of different things. So yes. Additionally, what I've started doing was I started uploading my videos, my lives to YouTube. And on YouTube, what you can do is you can kind of skip around, but I am basically making entire plushes. I'm running through basic ideas. And if you have a request for something you'd like me to do to help you learn, send me a message. I will answer all messages. And I will make videos as often as I can. I helped Cat B figure out some problems with their sewing machine. I just recently posted about how to clean your sewing machine. So yes, I will do everything I can to help you because I think it's a lot of fun. I think it would be more gutter if he's angry. It might be cuter. So I've kind of got here, let me show you just as a basic idea. One of the other thoughts I had was by putting eyebrows on all of the eyes. But if I made a angry, it's definitely something we can do. There's a lot of different things that we can do with that. Oh, let me see what I've got here. I mean, yeah, as I read, I realized what you were saying. Yes, I love the angry, super cute. Thank you so much for telling. Absolutely no problem, Cryptic TL. Yes, Teeny Tuh. I think that looks like that's going to be the consensus. So far, we've had a couple people mention that they think it'd be cuter if it was angry. And then what I'll do is I'll make the simple one and they'll just kind of tack it on to make sure. It'll help out to see it, but yes, the drawing does make it look cute. So here's the question, guys. Do you want me to start working on the eyebrows? Do you want me to start working on the gill, the fin? Or should I start working on the wing? Because here's the thing about the wing. I can do a cute little simple wing that just kind of sticks to his back. Let's say like just a tiny little wing right here, a pair of them. Or we can go real big with it. I know that the tiny wing looks cuter, but we could also make this huge wings that go on it. Now, the thing about huge wings, if I did that, they could wrap around you. They could be little, they could turn, I can set them so they button, so they wrap around him. So maybe it turns into a cloak. But what do we think? Do we like the idea of the big or the cute? I think the big one is fun for another project maybe, but there's a very high possibility this small one, if we do just a teeny tiny little wing, and I can even put little holes in it so that it's kind of demonic looking, you know how they've got the tears in the membrane. I think that might be the cuter idea. And then I'll make it small enough so that it kind of lays on his back. Oops, I have all kinds of, oops. Well, thank you so much, Corey. I'm sorry, sometimes I forget that it does not scroll if I stop. Wings or eyebrows? It looks like we've got one vote for wings. Wrap around like a bear hug maybe. The big wings are cute. I love the wraparound aspect. Okay. He would just hide himself with these. Yes, we definitely could. Yes, I like that one too. The tears and the tears in the wing. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. It sounds like you guys like the big wing. So we're going to do a wing that is pretty big. And then we'll kind of make it a little bit sporadic. I will sew in a couple veins. So so we got the femur here, and then we'll have the fingers. And then I will cut in just a couple holes to make it look a little bit wild and demonic as well. All right, excellent. So it looks like that's the consensus. All right, so now let's see what kind of wing we want to do. If we do nice big wing, I don't have to make it particularly even. Come down here. I will sew a stronger part right here, and I will stuff this up. So we'll say I'm going to darken the areas that I can stuffen up. And we'll do it all the way up to here. So all this can be stuffed. And then I will do a couple vein as well. Not vein. I don't think finger is the right word either. Probably phalange of some sort, but can do something like this. Bring the top one really high. And the other one just kind of tight as well. No, I don't think that looks quite right. So what I'll do instead is I will bring it out. So, yep, then we'll do that. And then I will cut holes afterwards. And we'll make it so that these are little voids. Let me go ahead and lightly darken this so we can get a scale. Darken this up just a little bit. Use a little bit of light drawing here, and then another hole right in here. And we'll do that kind of randomly so we don't have it like planned. Do we like this? Thank you so much, Teeny. All right, do we like this or should I add more? I could always add something a little bit different. I kind of don't know. All right, so let's see. If we did bat shapes, let's go ahead and adjust some of this to start with. So maybe just round it out a little bit more. Put a more pronounced bone there. I could also shape this just a little bit maybe. Again, darken all this up so we can kind of get a look at it. And then I can shape right there, bring that part up just a little bit. All right, so we've got one for the previous, which was a little bit more sporadic. Let's see, we'll do just some kind of sketches, and then what we'll do is afterwards we will kind of take a vote for it. So we'll say this is A, this is B. And again, I'm not going to do all the details for the sketches. We're just kind of looking for a starting point. So I kind of actually like this shape without the nub up here. Kind of gives it a little bit more of a. So here's the thing: I think I'm trying to do too much Cthulhu, and I suddenly realized that I could be making it a lot cuter. So let's try cute. Give it a good rounding. Bring it down like this. And then I can still do the tears. Just make it nice and round. And I'll still put the pins on here. A is good. I like A. The wing is a bit lower. The arch, if that makes sense. You want the wing lower than the arch. So maybe down here. And let's try and come up with a way to make it look cuter, just to make as an option. I could do, as goofy as it might be, almost like a butterfly wing doesn't work. It'd be cute, but it doesn't fit the theme. Looks like we've got an agreement on A so far. So maybe if I did, let's see, we'll call this C. And let's see if I can come up with a balance between the two of these. So, cute dragon. Yeah, but if I try and do most stuff dragony, then. Okay, so we give it more of an arch. Have it come in just a little bit. I could make it way smaller, way thinner. No, that doesn't look like much of a difference, and that becomes more dragon-like. C would be good if the wings were mini. Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. You know what? That might be the big difference. If I smoothen this out just a little bit, because you're right. If it was small and it was cute, that would make a lot more sense, but we're aiming for big and cute. So let's try an arch out. We'll get rid of some of the distortion to it. And then I can get rid of the second dip, and we could just add tears here, but I don't think that fits. So we kind of simplified this arch a little bit. So it makes it a little bit less harsh by making it a little bit more rounded. And then from here, do we have any thoughts on this as an idea? Do we like one of the other ones still more? Call this one D. C would be good if the wings were mini. I absolutely agree. I think that would be good. Mixture of the cute and A. So the mixture of cute and A would put us somewhere right around here. That gives us a nice curve, makes it a little bit simpler. I'd take D. All right, so we've got one vote for D so far. D makes it just cute enough. And then what I could do is I can make it about the same size. So let me go ahead and draw that on here, just so we can kind of see what we're looking at. Arch it around. Oop, too much of an arch, I think. And if I bring it out a little bit, then I can put the snaps on the side. Here. Then we'll add the tears. All right, excellent. So that gives us a good size wing. And then what I will do is maybe what we can wind up doing is adding like snaps right here so that we can wrap it around. But we'll find out. Once I put this together, we'll see if we need to add the snaps after that. So here's our goal. So now I have to kind of draw this out at the right size. I may have to tape some pieces of paper together. All right, here we go. I have the head and body. I'm going to tuck the head in just a little bit more so that it sets a little bit lower on the body. So I think that that will be a good amount. Let me see if I can adjust the position so that we can all see it while I'm drawing it. All right, and stop moving. Okay, so let's say if we're going for big, we're not going for huge. I think with this size, kind of gives us a good amount. I can arch this up here. I may have to get another piece of paper for it. That'll be nearly the size of him. And then I'll just add another piece here so I know what I'm doing for the size. Want to bring this up and around. We've got a nice little arch here, so let me go ahead and fix that. Got my eraser. So we'll do an arch up and then around. And then I think what I'm going to wind up having to do is make it just a little bit bigger on the bottom because I'm going to lose some. One of the things you have to keep in mind when you are making a pattern for any kind of plush is you're always going to lose some because of the stitch. So what I'm probably going to do is wind up losing about 1/4 of an inch all the way around it. And that's how much smaller it's going to get. So what I tend to do is I draw it at one size and then I make it bigger afterwards to kind of adjust for that loss. No, I think I don't want that to be quite that pronounced. So let's go ahead and bring this here and bring that down. And then what I will do next is I'm going to tape on another piece of paper. 1 second, I'll be right back with some tape. I think my tape is already out here. Now I'm just trying to find it. I am not the best at organizing sometimes. Yep, there it is. What happens is I'm working on so many different things at so many different times that I sometimes forget where all my stuff is at. So let's go ahead. This is also funny. I am down to my last sheet of grid paper. I love using grid paper. I found that grid paper is perfect because sometimes when you have something that you're trying to make symmetrical. So for example, what I did was I drew a line here. I can use the grid paper to find my center point, and I can make them both the same by just folding it in half and cutting it. Conversely, I can make most of this the same. I was able to change the shape of the two fingers while keeping them even. So if you are making your own patterns, I really advocate for using grid paper because it just works so much easier for a lot of different things. All right. Now you see how I roughly make a larger pattern. Oops, I made that a little bit on the wrong point here. I would move that here, move this down here. Sorry about that. This is part of what happens when I'm doing something completely unplanned on live. I have the basic idea for this, of course, but there's still so many things that I have not figured out that it winds up just being sporadic movements here. Let's see what I got here. I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything. Now, again, if you message me anything and I miss it, please feel free to message again. I am more than happy to. I try and scroll and look every now and then. But right now, I am right here. My body's here and my phone is here. So I can't really see the screen. But I think that's going to be a good size wing. Let me try and rearrange again so we can see it together. And one second, one moment. Every time I do this, I'm rearranging my tripod to kind of figure this out. And let's see, we got right about there. Let me get my plush. So here's our dude. We'll lose about 1/4 of an inch, but I still think that's going to make a nice big, a real big wing. So I think that that'll work out really well. It is. It's a huge wing. So this is kind of funny. I actually have someone who wants to order a 20-foot snake. I haven't started the snake itself because I had to get caught up on a bunch of things with a blanket on the inside. And I have been planning on making a caterpillar or a beetle that opens up so that the wing becomes a giant blanket. So this is nowhere near that same size, but it is right in line with some of the ideas that I've had by making this wing so big. I think my bigger problem is worrying whether or not I'm going to have enough material for both halves of the wing. And if not, we may do some improvising, and I may put a second color on the inside of the wing, kind of like I did with one of the tentacles on the face. Hey, come on, you could do it. There we go. I don't really need that to be perfect. Let's just go ahead and cut that out of my way. And I don't really have advice on the best way to do a lot of different things when it comes to making a pattern. One of the biggest things that I have learned is that by making one, even when you know it's not going to work, it gives you a starting point. And I'll give you an example here in just a few moments. Let me go ahead and cut just a straight line so I have that. Get all my paper out of the way. Okay, so let's say you made this as a pattern. You find out that this is not a sharp enough curve, which it probably isn't. I'm probably going to have to sharpen this curve up either when I sew or just beforehand. And you make this whole thing. When you are done, you realize that that curve is not sharp enough. Instead of having to start all over and guessing, you can literally cut your pattern. You can redraw it and add, like maybe you decide you want an extra curve or something like that. The more often you use a curve, oh, bye Ruby, I hope you have a great night. The more often you use a pattern, the easier it is to make the corrections. So if you're learning how to do plushes on your own, that's one of the big steps I say that you take to do. And start at a medium size too. This head is probably about as big as I would suggest going. And you'll see, like, this is like teddy bear size. You don't need to go too small. If, for example, my mice, if you try to make a plush this size as your first learning project, it is really hard to make a small piece. Between the size of the needle and your sewing machine, it becomes harder and harder. So my suggestion is start with something about this size. Find a teddy bear. You can find something online. There's lots of patterns that you can find online to do stuff. And that will probably be one of the easiest ways to get started. All right, let me go ahead and tape up my two pieces so that I don't have to worry about them flapping around on me. No, don't stick. Oh, dang it. If nobody's told you, I love working live, doing these projects live, but they are always going to be just a little bit harder when you're doing something on video. And it's worth noting because if you start making TikToks or how-to videos or my journey videos, just be prepared that you're going to get distracted. You're going to be trying to do too many things at once, and you're going to be trying to move around the camera. Just be prepared for the difference. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not super difficult, but it's something to keep in mind. All right, so we're going to do the Wednesday plush ones I made. Oh, what do you do after you've done with making them? Do you keep them? So here's the thing. The first one I did was a mouse. My plan is to have that as I think Cat B has decided they want that one, but I have not decided on what I'm going to do with some of these. I'm thinking that I may start doing little giveaways depending on how many people I've got coming in. But at the same time, I have to adjust for shipping. So maybe I'll do like giveaways where someone pays shipping. But I also plan to turn this into a pattern that I can repeat so that I can make more of these and people can have custom versions, different colors, different expressions, a lot of things like that. So I'm still working on details, but that's kind of where that lands. And if you had some thoughts, some suggestions, I am super interested in hearing what you have to say because it'll help me know what people are interested in when I know what thoughts people have. I have got a bobbin in my way. Hey, look at that. Stuff is just falling apart. I'm going to be rearranging my work area. So just so you could see, this is my work area. This is on camera. This is my work area. It's a horrible mess, so I keep bouncing around. A different giveaway would be cool. I would love to do that. I'm at this point where I've got enough people that see things where it's actually legitimately a thing. But I also know that since I'm just starting, giveaways can take me under. They can take a person and it kind of burns things away. People only come in for giveaways. And truth be told, I've done that myself. I've gone into videos and just kind of been part of the giveaway. But I'm trying to build something. So my thought is that if I get enough people that really like what I'm doing, a giveaway is fantastic. And in fact, so the last time I did a giveaway, I made a mouse. And the people who commented on it got entered into the giveaway. I have selected these primary colors. And I'm probably going to do like a lilac, a purple, or a black. And I'm going to make another mouse. And this mouse is going to, the mouse that I make from these materials is going to be my giveaway as a thank you for reaching 4,000. What's funny is I'm about to hit 5,000 people following. So I'm about to have to make 2 giveaways or make it a bigger deal. So keep an eye out for that as well. Maybe part of it will be what I do for this as the giveaway, maybe. All right. Now, in case you're wondering, this material does have a direction. If you look at the fuzz, I don't know if it's referred to as grain, but that's what somebody said, so it's stuck in my head. If you watch, you can see that if I go against it, the material kind of moves weird. But when I flow with it, this is the direction I want the wing to go. So I want it to be so that when someone strokes the wing, it goes nice and soft and smooth. So I will be making sure that both directions I cut will have that direction. Trying to get all my stuff out of my way because of that. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw a message here. Because it would be cool. Someone on your page. This is my favorite page on TikTok. I love it. I love that you said that. And honestly, there's the back of my mind that finds that hard to believe because I feel like I am not super entertaining when it comes to making these things. Thank you so very much, Tinita. Did I say that right? I think I did. Tinita. So close. I am really trying. I love doing this stuff. The idea of being able to make things for people that they cuddle with and they love, that's a huge deal for me too. All right, so let's see what we can do. We're going to try and make one wing at the very least tonight. We're going to go through the whole process. Now, in case anybody is wondering, yes, I use a pen. I don't know. I've been here since March. Oops, sorry. So, yeah, you have been here for so long. Whenever I get that, I don't know if I told you already, but I'm working on like additions to the stuff that I make so I can show real appreciation to people when they order stuff. But I also am trying to balance that. So here's one of the things. I use a pen. And the reason I use a pen is because not only does this material, is it really soft, but what happens is even on the backside, it just would not hold soapstone. It would not hold colored pencil. I could probably use a water soluble pen, but the truth is I've been using these exact same pens ever since I started. And I've made yellow plush pillows that have been washed several times. And there's been no staining from them, no bleed from the pen. And all the things that I've done from learning for myself let me know that it should be okay to keep doing this. Now, if you are starting with your own, Of course, you're going to want to make whatever adjustments you need to. I would suggest that you start off with a soapstone, try to use the colored pencils. Maybe the material that you're using will be different than mine, but I don't want anybody to look at what I'm doing and think, oh, that's the right thing. I don't know if it's the right thing. Truth be told, I think it's probably the wrong thing. But I'm doing it because I'm stubborn. This is how I've learned, and that's just what I'm going to keep doing. And I know there's going to be a few people out there that hear that and be like, yep, same. So it can't be horrible. Nobody's come back in time to stop me, so that's a good thing. I love how interactive you are. I've never had a favorite TikTok until I stumbled on your account. You're going to make me blush, and I don't appreciate blushing, but I thank you so much, Tina. I have seen a couple of the lives where people do their work, and there's some beautiful work out there. I saw this artist just the other day. They're doing a charcoal piece and colored pencil, and I stopped by. I told them that the work was beautiful, but I didn't stick around. And every time it came across my feed again, they were very quiet. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I always feel like if I'm going to be doing something that I want someone to be entertained, I want to do my best to entertain. And I can talk. I was in debate class. I was a winner in debate classes. I was in drama. I was an artist. I have done art events and shows and craft fairs, and I can sit there and yell at people all day long. The only downside is that after a while, depending on what's going on, I kind of run out of steam. So I'm still trying, but it's kind of like exhausted. Hey, Spaz. Spaz is another person that's been here for quite some time. I really appreciate when they come by. Not only that, but they ordered a custom Goofy Pokemon for their daughter, and I got to make that live, which was a lot of fun. So that's another thing. If you are interested in something, send me a message. Worst case scenario, it's something I build off screen, but I could always possibly do these things for you on live. I don't say that that's exactly fun, but what happens is now that I'm posting my lives on YouTube, it's something you could share. So let's say, for example, you got someone a gift, a custom ordered plush. I'll make it online. I'll make it on live. And then I'll post it, and they can watch that at any time. And then maybe even something that they can learn to do some stuff for themselves, which is always fun for me. I think the idea of teaching people is a big deal. And I like helping people. And maybe that's because I've never really had too many teachers that were patient enough to help me with stuff in all actuality. I sure hope yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure I was cutting this with the grain. I suddenly felt it move awkwardly. Now, I am trying to hurry this along a little bit. The good news is that this is a simple piece that we are putting together. So I shouldn't have too much of a worry. I do have plenty of material, so that's a good thing. All right. I think that I'm going to do both sides of the wing the same. I will definitely send you a message this week. I've been going back and forth on a design I want. Is the fabric stretchy? It is a little bit stretchy. I wouldn't call it stretchy. I think what happens is it's got like a natural amount of flex to it, even with the bias. Now, the downside is if you are putting two pieces together and you are sewing, it does have a tendency to stretch one and then bind the other. But no, it's not what I would call stretchy. It's just got enough flex on it to be comfortable and nice. And definitely feel free to send me a message at any time. I can do sketches for you. We can talk out ideas. I've made a lot of different plushes for people. So there's a lot of different things I might come up with that you may not have thought of that might help. Of course, I am more than happy to do exactly what you want with none of my input as well. I am not one of those guys that says you have to do it my way or the highway. All right, let's see. I think that is, nope, there's some here. Now, when I sew this together, I'm going to sew the outside line, and I'm going to keep the base of the wing unsewn. And the reason is because that way I can turn it right side out. But I'm also doing a bigger section of it left open because when we get it sewed together, I'm going to do just a light amount of stuffing so I can get that extra vein in there so that I can do the femur and I'm probably a phalange. I don't know. I haven't looked into that. I only know that's a femur because I was looking up some dragon art stuff so I can do some different things with a dragon design. But my intention is to do that as a stitch over the top of it. All right, there we go. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out the best view. I'm not 100% sure if I should do this directly or not. Now, another thing that I will oftentimes mention with a pattern like a small part like the body, what I do is I pin. Oops, that's not what I want. I don't know what this is. Okay. I will pin all the belly to the body. But when I'm doing the head, I don't pin it. I just kind of hold it in place. Sometimes with a big piece like this, I will not pin it in place because I'm not too worried about it from experience. But here's the thing. If you don't pin it in place, you might have a tendency where, for example, the boot will stop the top piece from moving, so it'll kind of stretch it out a little bit, and the feed dogs will push them in, and you'll wind up where it comes uneven. I'm over-exaggerating, but imagine it does this. So you've got a stretched piece and a curled piece. Do you hand sew the pieces together for the smaller projects? This, I machine sew the head, the body, everything that I can, and then I hand sew the head onto the body. I use like a ladder stitch to connect them. But on these very small pieces, because I want them to be as strong as possible, I actually do machine sew these. And it took me a long time to figure out how to do that. Some of my videos have me making some of those, and I will make some more as instructionals. But yes, I would definitely suggest machine sew everything you can because it feels stronger. But I will show you how to do smaller pieces in the machine as well. So here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pin all the way across it, pin it about 1 inch or so. It doesn't need to be perfect. What I'm doing is making sure that it stays lined up and that it doesn't wind up shifting on me. Like I was just showing you how one side will stretch and one side will bind. And the more pins you have, the smoother the stitch will be. But that being said, with practice, if I were to make more of these wings, I probably wouldn't pin this together. I would probably just run the stitch and just go and not be too worried about it. I'm doing it mostly to show you because I think it's important to let people know how. And there are other forms of getting your materials together, which I can definitely show you as well. One of them is called basting. I didn't know the name of it until I was live one day and I did it. And then somebody who does have experience told me it was called basting. So if you're interested in the concept, go ahead and you can Google that. I will do that again at a later time, but right now this is not the type of piece that is necessary for. So it's something to keep in mind. Again, a lot of this doesn't need to be done. I've made, for example, let me show you something here. When I made my goofy Charizard, I did do a little bit of pinning on the head because it's small and that gets caught up. But in the rounded part here, I definitely pinned and basted together. But down the back, sewing around the sides, that stuff isn't necessary. You don't have to pin everything in place. And the more practice you get with a specific pattern, the easier it is to know what you have to worry about. And since you get to make the decisions on what's easiest for you, the good news is you don't have to worry about someone yelling at you. Why didn't you pin that? Well, I didn't want to. Thank you very much. And I think one of the reasons I say that particularly is I've had several people in messages telling me that they are too afraid to start. And there is no reason to be afraid of it. There's no wrong way. Everything in art is the same as the pirate code. They're just guidelines. There are a few things you might have to do to make it work. Like, for example, if you're doing some sort of serigraphy or like relief printing, you might have to do certain things. But even those things are within certain limits of you can do what you want because there's a certain freedom to it. And the more stressed you are about doing art projects, the harder it is to enjoy them. So keep that in mind as well. I started making plushes because my kid's sister got pregnant, and I thought it'd be really neat to be able to make plushes that I like, or that she would like, or that my sister would like, that you can't find in stores. For example, my sister, she likes the movie Coraline, so she likes some of the weird stuff, and it's kind of neat to say, hey, if you need a plush off a certain type of thing, I'm your dude. Oh, what are you doing, Vance? Oh, okay. All right, we'll do a quick stitch. I'm going to show you it's very simple. All I'm going to be doing is a straight stitch Now, if you want your plush to last forever, you can do a zigzag stitch on the edge. I have been told by several people a few different things. First off, I leave my pins in. I am doing a long enough stitch that on the average, the needle, my sewing needle, will go on both sides of my pin. The needle comes to a point and the pin is so small that even when it lands on it, usually it just kind of slides over. I have broken a couple needles doing that. I have bent some pins doing that. It is possible. But as you're about to see, it's also nice and easy to not have to worry about pulling each of your pins out. I'm able to just kind of run with it. I know that they're in place. You might hear it, like right there, it clipped it just a little bit. Oop, see? For the first time ever in a long time, especially on live, that's exactly what I was talking about. It can break your needle. Now, this is an old needle. So there's a lot of things about that. Give me a second. I'm going to go get a replacement needle, hopefully. All right, that's kind of wild that happened. It hasn't happened in so long, and I'm sitting there warning people, but the good news is I was already warning you about it. So it's not like, oh no, he's an idiot. All right, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to cut off the thread. I am going to very carefully locate and find the end of my needle. I do not want that laying around. It's very small. Oops. It's very small, but it's going to hurt if somebody gets hit by it. I take a penny. Unscrew right here, clockwise and counterclockwise, just like anything else. Here's the broken needle. I am using universal needles. You can use different types of needles for cotton, for leather, for finer projects like silks and stuff like that. But this works just fine for what I'm doing here. Once I get it in place, I did not get that all the way in there. I hope I didn't wind up doing something. Okay. Get that in there. Get that tightened up. I am going to go throw these two pieces away because, again, I do not want them laying around. Oh, you're the plush maker. I hope you haven't sewn through a gap. So far, I haven't, John. John reminded me the other day, I was trying to leave an opening so I can right side out my plush. And the very moment I forgot, John reminded me, but I had realized it was already too late. John was paying enough attention for both of us, though. All right. Sorry about that. I had to throw that away because I didn't want to leave it. John, you just missed me breaking a needle. Let's make sure. All I'm doing is just rethreading it through now. And I'm going to start, you can see it really bent my pin in place too. See, look at that. That just destroyed that pin. That is the biggest I've ever had that happen. I've had a couple get a slight bend in them. And I've had people telling me, you're brave for doing that. And I always thought, that's a little bit ridiculous, but hey, maybe you've had something worse than what I've had happen. Well, that's probably the worst that's ever happened to me. Again, I'm just going to do some back stitches. I'm going to make sure, nope, I don't think it's thread correctly. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you this. And if I pull that really tight, yep, it comes right out. So what happened was when my needle got jammed up in there, it also threw my machine off so that the thread is not in place. So that's a real simple process. It's something I've learned to identify and to pay attention to. If your machine goes through anything, you get bound up, it gets tangled, something jams up, I always suggest to pay attention to what the thread is doing because sometimes the tension will come out of it. And if you're not paying attention to it, you will wind up sewing up an entire project only to find out that your thread will pull right out. I have learned to identify when that happens, even though I'm not perfect at it. So I'm going to stop and check real quick. It's easier to stop and check than it is to keep going. So one of the things you notice, see like right there, that's where it wasn't tied up correctly. Oh my goodness. It looks like my entire stitch was not done correctly. Like when I threaded it before, I did not have that thread. You can see that's, so what happened is the tension on it is not right. So I'm going to replace both parts. It's a masterpiece. Yeah, so what wound up happening is between the tension of my top thread and the tension of my bobbin, it was not in there correctly. So this entire stitch, if I pulled really hard on this, the whole thing would come out. So I'm glad that I checked it, but it looks like I fixed it just a minute ago because that's nice and smooth. So let's go ahead. That might be part of the reason why it caught the needles like it did. There's a possibility that that caused the whole problem. So I'm just kind of doing another stitch just a little bit further in, hoping that I don't jam up my needle again. Nope, I'm not going to extend the stitch anymore. Keep going this way. Let's see what happens. Now, one of the things that I notice when I find out that something is not tense enough is that my thread moves super quickly. See how you can see so much of that stitch right here? It's almost twice as much thread that goes through. So you'll wind up seeing your spool, which is up here. Your spool will, let me show you. When it moves, here, let me show you when I'm actually sewing. You can see that it is barely moving at all. When the tension is not correct, you'll see this, it moves like crazy. Yes, John, that is literally what I was saying. I was actually telling them that people were saying it was brave for me to sew over needles. And I've only ever broken one other before today. So it's super wild that it finally happened again. But now anybody that's watching can see from my mistake and they can decide, do you want to just go ahead and pull this out each time? Because watch, that's all it is. To my next needle, pull that out. To my next needle, pull it out. It's not hard to do. And in fact, it might make it easier afterwards because I won't be stabbing myself with all the old needles. Let me go ahead and get some stuff out of the way here. Maybe your sewing machine has performance anxiety. You're like, why are you saying this kind of stuff? I don't appreciate that. Oh, sorry, I had to turn off another light. It might be. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. I appreciate everything you do for me. You're doing amazing. If you are worried, it's all me. You're not the problem. It's me. I promise. Now I'm over here trying to reassure my sewing machine. Thanks a lot, John. Thanks for putting that in my head. Not like we don't pack bond to everything anyways, right? Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to finish this up. And I'm going to go ahead and take the needles out as I go. You did?
Yeah, that's yours.
Yeah.
See,
this is an example of what has happened in the past. You can see that slight...
Papa,
yes, sir?
take care of this dog.
Take care of the dog?
Yeah, your dog.
Oh, my dog. Okay, thank you. Don't step on my book. Thank you.
In mommy room. In our room.
Okay, good.
In mommy room.
Okay, in mommy's room? Okay, you have fun. So this is probably the extent of what I've had in the past. And this is today's debacle. I really probably do need to keep these pins. It just seems so funny. All right, what did you just say? Can't show fear in front of the machine. It literally starts to choke under pressure. That's probably exactly what the problem is. I was manifesting accidentally the dangers of keeping the pins in, and it said, it got the yips. Now I'm picturing like actual AI doing stuff like that, getting performance anxiety and the yips while trying to do anything. All right. So my plan is, I think on this next one, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you what it looks like as is, and then I will show you how I fix it. I'm worried that there's not enough arch in the wings. And the truth of the matter is, it's a real easy fix. I do it with my bats all the time. But this way we can kind of look at it together and make a few decisions on it and see what we do or don't like. All right, back stitch at the end. We should be good to go. Let me move this way over here. Get my needle and my, there we go. Insane at the plate, pin and needle lined up, that perfect. It's a crazy break. Like it doesn't even make sense to me that it has an extra curve in there. It's like it hit and then something else caught. Maybe that pin already had a bend in it and I didn't realize. All right, I don't need to clip off all this extra thread. I do it because in my head, it makes me feel better. Call it a little ADHD, I suppose. I'm not sure if that would qualify. All right, let's see what we got here. I don't think I've missed anything else. Cat B's laughing at me. I saw that. Okay, now, here's what we're going to do. First off, when I have a point, like right here, I will actually cut that off and a little bit of the excess off as well. I don't want to cut too close. And the reason I do that is because this point, when I inside it out, all that excess material will go right into that point and it'll change the shape of it. It'll kind of become a knot. Especially like, look at this. All that material will be stuffed right up in there and it just won't take the shape that I really want it to. So just a little bit of excess cutting. I will do the same thing when I sew the feet here. The excess around the edge so that it doesn't turn into a knot or just a weird shape. I will also trim that off. Then the next thing, this is something I'm not too worried about here. If I have a sharp curve, I will cut little slits, just a tiny little slit into the material. And the reason is because, oops, let me get this finished so I can do two things at once. Come on, you can do it. Okay, so the tiny slit allows this material to bend and flex. Otherwise, it's just going to try and stay solid. Now, I have seen the zigzag scissors, and my understanding is that does exactly the same thing. So you would just cut with the zigzag scissors, and that would give you a nice little curve as well. Would be cool if you added boning to the wings. So that's definitely something I could do. I will show you what I'm talking about here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and do this part, and we'll kind of do a few different things. So we have a couple thoughts. One of the first thoughts is that we are going to make this so that it wraps around, and that would be a little bit floppy. I will make this a little bit stiffer because I'm going to sew right here on the outside and stuff inside that. So it's going to be fluff stiff, which sounds comical, compared to having a solid interior armature. Yes, sir? They're just kind of dropping off the puppy. Who is it? Oh, it's for mommy? Okay.
Mommy?
All right, so let's go ahead and look at this to begin with. First, I've got, this is my curve. Let me back up just a little bit here. You know what? I know what I'll do. Instead of moving the stand, I'm going to move the phone. All right, so this is our curve. Do we like this amount of curve, or should I go ahead and sew it a little bit more? And what I would do is when I sew it, I'll right side it, or put it back inside out again. Yeah, inside out. And I'll just sew a little bit sharper of a curve on each of these. Or do we like the curve of that? It is a decent curve, especially when I add the femur and the phalange that goes in there. All right, you like it? Excellent, Tina T. That's perfect then. What we will do is we'll keep it like that. And now, if you guys give me just a moment, before we make, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of things real quick. The thing is, he mentioned putting a boning or an armature in there. I have armature, but we're going to have to discuss what that does. And before we do, I'm going to go ahead and add what I'm talking about with the femur and the other details. So, oops. Hey, come on, work with me here. Don't let John get to you. Don't let John get to you. Hey, look, it finally gets someone to block for the day. Block, confirm, report, and sorry, hate speech. We'll go with spam, submit. So what happens is pretty much every time I've gone live, somebody has jumped on saying that they're giving people money or blessing people. And one of the early times that happened, someone told me, you should probably block that person. So I make an effort to do that now. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch over the top of this material. We're going to do a thin stitch that goes across, and then I'll come down. And then I will make a little point and then bring it back up and around, and we'll just kind of make the femur that way. I have to make sure I leave a big enough hole right here where I can put the stuffing into it. One of the downsides is it makes it really hard to stuff, but it should be enough space that I can work with it still. So I'm going to do a little bit of shape at the bottom. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out how far I want to bring it in. Okay. Now, I do want to make sure that I keep the seam together. If it starts to shift, what will happen is the seam will move in and it'll change the direction and the effect that it has on the wing itself. So I'm going to do my very best to hold this in a situation where it stays in place.
You give our dog.
Yeah, I am taking care of the dog. Yes, sir.
That's Mommy and Ben.
Yeah, Mommy advances dog. Now I'm going to put a pin right here just enough so I can remember where I'm going.
Our dog.
Yeah, our dog. Yes, sir.
Mommy Ben's dog.
Mommy advances dog. Okay, not my dog.
Right here.
Oh, that's my dog? Okay.
Right here.
I see, buddy. I see. I just wanted to put that there just as enough to remind myself how far I'm going. It doesn't seem like I did much. Let me see my sketch here. I'm just referencing with the sketch. So we want a little bit of a sharp curve down, not rounded right here. I'm going to go ahead and make a sharp edge. I'm just going to turn it. Make sure the needle is down. All I'm doing is going to this corner. I'm not even going to go all the way. Then I will turn back. You can see where I've sewn. There's just a little line here. And that's pretty good. I like doing that to give shape to some of my plushes. It makes like ears stand out in a nice way. And one more time. Again, trying to make sure I keep these seams even. This one I'm going to take pretty close to the corner. I just want to I'm keeping my fingers here so that mentally I can see how much space I need, because I still have to be able to put fluff inside this entire side. The good news is that since it's rounded, all I have to do is kind of keep it somewhat even. I think my thread just broke. It did. Today is just one of those days. And I'm telling you right now, there are lots of days where that kind of thing is going to happen, where your sewing machine, just the whole process.
Where's my dog?
The one behind me?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one you're looking for? Or are you looking for a different one?
Different one.
I don't know where a different one would be.
My dog.
Is it the black one? Oh, this one right here?
Yeah.
You silly. So some days you'll find that no matter what you do, things just do not want to line up. And I can't even offer any explanation for it. I've had days where I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop sewing for the day and I'll just come back tomorrow. So keep that in mind. I really can't tell you if that's a universe thing, if that's a bad day thing. But amongst sewers that I know, that has been a truth. I really hope that the thread seems like it's moving normally. Something doesn't seem... Oh, nope, that's fine. It looks fine. I can't see any extra thread here. I hope it's doing okay. Seems like it is. But it is a constant truth amongst the people I know that do so. And there's just nothing that can change it. All right, I'm going to bring this all the way to the edge. I am still going to do some back stitch. And let's see what we've got. I have to double check where I started over again. I probably should have just rethreaded it. Because as I mentioned before, anytime anything happens, there's always that possibility. It just looked like the thread was moving okay for me, so I didn't worry too much. Yeah, see, it looks like it's fine. I don't see any excess thread. It's holding in place. We're good. Now I just got to cut these excess pieces off. I'm not sure what happened there. It looks like it got tangled up between the old one. And if you'll notice, I am not shearing this. I am just sawing it off. And the reason is because I don't want to actually cut the fuzz. I don't want to actually cut the material. All right. So now you can see right here, I've got the shape. You can see where the pieces are going to be stuffed. Now we are to that point that I was talking about. We need to have a discussion. So I am going to go get my armature material. If you'll stick with me for 1 minute, I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so here is what we have. I've got this armature. Now, it's not the easiest thing to put back together, but I can separate it out. But let me go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put this in the wing, because the options that the thought that I originally had, was that I would just put a little pin, not a pin, a snap right here. And then what would happen is it would wrap around. Let me go ahead and get all of this situated. Do some aiming here. It's John's fault he jinxed the match. He got here just after, but then he continued to add to it. He provoked it. All right, so here is our wing. Oops. I'm trying to set this up so you guys can see, but I have to move the camera because it's so big that you can't tell from here. That's what I'll do. I'm going to lay it down, and we're going to look at it from the top. So that's what we have. A nice big wing. I think that's a great size for it. And like this, it would wrap around him. So we have that as an option. But with the idea of using the armature, let me go ahead and just see if I can get that, how much I can get that to slide in. I think I left enough room. My intention was to leave enough room for the armature, but I may not have. Come on, I'm pretty sure you'll fit. If I was able to go the other direction, I know it would be a little bit easier. Get out of my way. And if not, I could always seam rip it and we can try again. All right, there we go. We got some movement. It looks like it's as perfectly shaped as it can be, so I won't be able to do a whole lot of stuffing. It'll just be the armature when we get to that point, if that's what we decide to do. Come on, come on, come on. Looks like I'll only be able to get it so far, but that's fine. We can do fluff at the end. there's a tool that you can get that will help you take this stuff apart and reassemble it. It's this specially shaped pair of pliers, essentially. I just don't have that. And the reason I don't have that is because everything I'm doing on a budget. If I find out that I need something and I would use it regularly, I buy it. But I still do everything I can by hand because to me it saves the money because I have to be mindful of that at pretty much all times. Trying to get the rest of this in here. Don't forget, we're also going to be adding the tears. So it's going to have the openings in the membrane of the wing as well. Eek. Again, this is happening because this part right here, it's a little bit tight around my armature. So I'm basically just having to force it through. That's probably just because it has that much, just enough give for that kind of thing. Come on. We can do it. I believe in us. Another thing is this armature that I got it so that I can make the tails of my possums so that they hold on to stuff. But I'm not great with the metric system, so I wound up getting it too big. So if I had the right size for my possums, I probably would have made this a little bit easier too. All right, here we go. So we have a posable arm, which now I can, give me a second here. I'm going to do some adjusting. Okay, that's there. And, oops. Sorry, my tripod is coming apart too. So that gives us that. What do we think? Do we like the idea of being able to make the wings stand up? Oh, sorry, I've got to make some adjustments. I hope you guys are not getting motion sickness here. And there we go. Now, if I had it like this, you could pose it. It can still wrap around. I will still fill this part so that it's got that shape. We're still going to have the holes that we cut into it. I may have to make some adjustment to the body so that I can get the armature inside, but that's easy to fix. I'm not sure. I may have to add some weight to the body so that it stays, so it doesn't fall backwards. So it looks like so far we've got a couple votes for. John suggested it, so I'm thinking that they're going to stick with the idea. But what do you think? Do we want it soft or do we want to make it stiff so that it poses? And as of right now, it looks like posing is the plan. Because I think that it's definitely a first time for me. I haven't put armature into anything like this before. Not only have I not made a Cthulhu, but I haven't put the wings posable, and I think that there's a lot of fun of an idea. So I think that's probably what we're going to wind up doing. Let me rearrange my tripod here, my base, my stand. There we go, my phone stand. Tripod, I knew wasn't the right word, and it doesn't have 3 pods. Okay, so we're going to do this. I think that it's a good thing that we haven't closed anything up. What I may wind up having to do is put like a bag of beads inside to weigh the body down so that the wings don't cause it to tip over, because this stuff is a little bit hefty. It's not heavy, but I think that it's going to be heavy enough to cause a problem there. All right, so let's see. I need to stuff the bottom. I think I'm going to have to stuff the very end of the wing here, and I definitely have to stuff this. And then the rest of this, I'm just going to have to leave with the armature. And I'm not going to cut my armature yet. And the reason is because, like I said, I can't put the two pieces back together. And I don't know how I'm going to want it to be situated. What I may wind up doing is having one armature that goes in one arm, through the back, and then out into the other wing. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave. We're going to start off by just taking this apart. Much easier to get off than it was to get on. There we go. For the next one, I will try and sew a little bit more in mind that it needs to be just a teeny bit wider. I will try and maybe put a bit of fluff in there, but no, I don't think it's worth trying. So I'm going to get my fluff. We'll do just a little bit in the tip of the wing and then a little bit for over here. So I already knew that stuffing it was going to be kind of hard to do. And you saw how hard it was just to get the armature in there, and that's solid. One of the things I usually do, for example, when I'm making a snake, is let's say that this was the length. I will make different openings throughout so that I can spread that around. And it probably would have been easier to do that here. But it's part of that whole I haven't done this before thing where because I haven't made this exact pattern, I'm doing a lot of this on the fly and forgetting little details or just not thinking about it until afterwards. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of fluff into the tip of the wing so that we know how that's going to look. And then after that, I'm going to start working on the tears so we can get that Cthulhu demon-esque wing look. All right, so that's too big of a slice. What's happened is if I get too much fluff in there, it clogs up, wads up, and just won't move. And I already knew that. I thought I made a small enough piece, but I did not. So I'm just kind of having to adjust as I go. And all I need to do is get just a little bit, maybe a couple inches in here, so that it holds the shape at the end where the armature runs out, right? Where the armature isn't reaching to. I think that's also going to be a good thing because it'll keep it from being like a hard end. Okay. Sometimes in the past, I have gotten aggravated. If you watch what I'm doing here, you can see that I'm making all these crumples. That'll come out of the plush, but sometimes I just worry that it won't. The truth is, I kind of wish that they would stay this time. Because we're making it as a Cthulhu, it would be great if it wound up staying a little bit more gnarly looking. Even though we're trying to make a cute version of it, I think that something like that would make a big difference on how it looks. So my guess is, based on what we've done so far, that we are probably going to be stopping on the wings. Again, I will try to make the other wing while I am working on other projects, but that may be something we wind up doing next week. It's funny how much time this takes. So if you haven't been here for the whole time, I have made all of this plush on live. I have not done anything to catch up or do a little bit extra offline or offline. So now you can tell, just as a basic idea for creating a brand new design, so far we are at 6 hours, maybe even more, because I think I get on about 6 and I get off around 8:30. So if you're trying to make your own plushes, be prepared. It takes a little bit longer than you might think. And you might start thinking, well, it's just a plush. Why should it be so important? Why should it take so much time? Anything you do that's fun, that's art, is going to wind up taking a lot more time than you realize. So just kind of keeping it in mind, even as simple as some of the things have been on this. I mean, this wing design, it wasn't hard. It probably took us longer to come up with the idea for what we wanted it to look like than it did for me to actually sew it together, not counting the fact that I busted a needle. And this will probably be the last that I put into the tip of the wing. I think that's a good and sturdy amount of fluff in there. And you can see what would happen if we didn't use the armature. It would still maintain the shape really well, but with the armature in there, it can actually pose, and that will make a difference. And now I can just kind of start stuffing the little part right here. Come on. Now, one of the things I always tell people, whenever you are leaving an opening for your plush so that you can stuff it and right side it out, the small holes are easier to seal, but the bigger holes are easy to get the fluff in. And this is a perfect example of how a small hole is kind of a pain. All right, now on this one, I'm going to stuff it pretty full. And that's because it's really just at the center. I really want it to stand out. So I'm going to put as much fluff in there as I can to pack it in really tight to give it a lot of shape. But I have to do it in small amounts. Whoops. I have to do it in small amounts because what winds up happening is if I put too big of a wad in there, it doesn't split up, it doesn't spread out, and it won't fill the tiniest ends to it. And that's one of those things that I just kind of learned from practice and experience. I really thought when I first started doing this, I just put a whole wad inside there and just spread it all around. It doesn't work like that. So just kind of keep that in mind if you ever decide that you want to do something. All these little tidbits of information I've learned, I'm just kind of sharing as I go. Mommy's in the bathroom. Mommy's making a poop. That's right. I said that on live.
Mommy.
What's the matter, buddy? Not me. Let me guess. Not me. So you can see that it's taking just a little bit of extra shape in there. Something that you can do if you're making something like this is you can always push like the inside material in a little bit so it has a little bit of extra on one side and it'll stay flatter over here. Those are little things that you can adjust as you go depending on what you're making. And that's just if you're doing it in this format. There's lots of different things you could do. You could make separate pieces, sew them all together. You can cut wedges into it. There's a lot of little details like that you can change. So as you kind of build, ooh, I wonder, did I just, no, that didn't break the stitch. I thought I did. You'll learn a lot of little tricks and things that work best for you, depending on what you're working on. And even with what I do, there's a lot of times that I will do one thing one time and a totally different thing the very next. So it's not even weird to change your plan midway through.
Are you going to eat it?
Hey. This is a little bit harder to stuff than I thought it would be. I thought because it's so close to the end that I'd be able to kind of get that done real quick. Now, when I do these holes, what I'm going to wind up doing is just cutting just a small amount and then kind of trying to fold on the inside. And the reason is because I'm going to hand stitch each of those closed. Basically doing the same ladder stitch I would do if I was closing up a plush. So the good news is that it will be like I get to be as free with it as I want. I can make it as sporadic as I can imagine. But the downside is it will take a little bit longer to hand stitch everything than if I were just run it through the sewing machine. So let's see here. Got a little bit more adjusting I want to do. And here we are. All right, now I've got that in there. When I get the armature, I'd love to be able to just slide the armature back in and show you what it'll look like. But we already know how hard that's going to be. I do think there's a possibility that what I want to do, I'm going to reaffirm the shape, this curve. And the way I'm going to do that is by knocking my armature over. Oh no, oh no. I'm making a big mess over here. Trying not to make a big mess over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I do this a lot of times with wings especially, I have this curve. Now, if I just leave it, what will tend to happen is it'll start to fold in, it'll start to bunch up, and since I'm not putting any fluff in here, there's nothing holding it in place. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to slide my sewing machine back over here, adjust, and I'm going to do pretty much the same thing I did right here where I sewed this section into it, but I'm going to do that right along the edge just to keep it shaped. So I'm going to start right about here. This seems like a good point. I'm going to backstitch as always. I'm going to keep the seam as close as I can. I don't really want it to shift on me. Again, fix my seam. And the reason here is because it keeps it, I'm trying to reaffirm its shape anyways. All I'm doing is lining it up with the end of my boot. And the reason is because I've got the needle on the right-hand side. So I know pretty much exactly what's going to be out of experience. But if you get used to it in the middle, you know, all those details will add up for you. Keeping the seam as clean as I can. I'm going to sew it pretty close to the edge. Really? It really is just that kind of day. I don't even know what happened there. It's happened to me before, but I just don't understand it. It's just that kind of day, I'm telling you. Trying to get rid of all this excess thread here. And then I'm going to rethread my machine. I'm going to go ahead and take the bobbin out. I just cleaned everything, so I know that I don't have a problem there. But sometimes everything just needs to be realigned. I feel like I've got good tension here. Go ahead and I'm going to pull my thread all the way out and then just reset that. It really has just been an odd day for that. Now again, sometimes I've found that when this is happening often enough, I just need to reset, go take a break, have a snack. I've quit entire days of work because sometimes it just feels like all I'm doing is fighting everything. Okay, let's try that. Let's see if everything... Looks like everything's good. Looks like my thread did not start bunching up and get kind of wild on me. And once again, all I'm doing is just cutting off these ends. I'm not even cutting, I'm just sawing it off. All right, let me get all this thread out of the way here. Now you can see what I've done is oh, let me cut these off. I forgot the starting points. So what I've done is I've turned this into something that can inside itself out. I don't have to worry about it separating. I don't have to worry about it changing its shape. By adding that stitch along that side, I now have a affirmed wing, and I don't have to worry about it changing at all. Once I get the armature on the inside, that'll make it really nice. It'll make it hold its position. When I sew the little holes in there, that's going to add extra strength in these little spots, so it won't even come apart like this anymore. So there's a lot of good things that will come out of doing that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to figure out how I want to make these holes. I'm just going to do kind of sporadic. It's basically unplanned anyways. The drawing was made so that it was however it just turned out. Something you can do, you can possibly use your soapstone and draw stuff out. For me, I'm just going to do this. I'm literally just going to draw on the material, and that'll be just enough. Hey, Shadow. I've been talking to Shadow about making my next Pokemon plushie. And I'm sorry I missed it, Charlotte. This is what we are making today. I am making a cute Cthulhu. Got these crazy tentacles. We've got the unhappy body. Today we are making the wing. Earlier today, between everybody else, we came up with a consensus. We started trying to decide if we want to make a small wing or big wing. I drew out a few options, and we wound up deciding on this one. So I am actually finishing up that wing right now. And one of the finishing touches that we're working on is I'm going to add these little holes in the wings. which I have to be careful not to cut my finger off. Now, when doing this, one of the things I have to keep in mind is that, dismiss. One of the things I have to keep in mind is whenever I cut the hole, I have to tuck it in. No matter what I do, I can't cut the exact shape that I want because I'm going to have a little bit of loss. And here's what I mean. Whenever I sew it in, the corners are going to be bent inwards so that it is outside against outside. I can't just sew it like this because then there's that curve, which honestly wouldn't look bad on a Cthulhu wing, but it's not something I'm interested in doing because I also know that that is a very weak spot on the fabric. Kind of need that to be, you kind of need that. You're talking about the extra space or the holes? Because I think the holes are what you're referring to. And I agree, it is definitely going to need these holes. So what I'm doing, instead of just cutting a circle, I am going to be cutting little chops, like pizza slices into it. And from there, I'll be able to see, I'll be able to tuck in, I'll be able to look at it, kind of come up with a basic plan for the shape. And if I do it just a little bit sporadic without much of a plan, see, I can now tuck in the wedges that I made. And I can see roughly what the hole is going to look like. And of course, I do got to cut on the other side, and I will. But I don't have to rush either of that. See? So once I tuck in those little areas, since I cut wedges into it, I know roughly what I'm going to be looking at. And I will sew it so it's rounded. It won't look like straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line. But I will hand stitch it so that it kind of rounds it out. So now, I think what I want to do, I think I want this one to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it a little bit more of an oval shape. So let's go ahead and find this wedge. Go a little bit further in. A little bit further. That will give me a little bit more of a stretched out hole rather than a rounded hole. And that's kind of the point. It needs to look like worn leather that is stretched. Yeah, so that'll give us a different shape, a more realistic, well, I don't know about realistic, a more unique and deliberate shape without it being too symmetrical. So now I just got to basically do the same thing here. Now, I know that anyone who's been in here is aware this is not a perfect plan. This is not something I've got a pattern for. And in fact, this is not something I've even done before. A lot of the reason I'm saying that is because this is just based on my experiences and what the things that I can do. But I want to point out, you don't have to be afraid to try different things. If it doesn't work, you've got more fabric. And if you don't have more fabric, there's ways to fix the fabric that you have. Just have some fun with doing some different things. That's smart. I never thought of that. Adding the holes to it or adding the wedges. I kind of need the finger. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely need the finger. You're right. All right, so here's what I'm looking at. I have a few different things that I could do. One, I can hand stitch all around this, but there's a possibility that if I can use the pins just right, what I can do is line up all my slots, all my edges. And maybe what I can do is just a top stitch around the outside, just like I did here and just like I did here. There's a chance that that might actually look a little bit cleaner as well. I got a whole bunch of fuzz because of those cuts. So let's see what happens if I pin it in place just so I can look at it. And what will probably happen is I'll have to pin on this side and then kind of repin when I get to the other side as well. And maybe use those to help me figure out what I'm going to do with it. Trying to get that stretched look that I had. I haven't, again, this isn't something I've done before, so I'm kind of figuring it out with you guys at the same time. I've imagined it before, just never had a reason to do it. Let's see, I think that's the edge of all my cuts. I might have to go in a little bit further here. And then if I were to start folding in the other side. Now, if I decide that I don't want to use the sewing machine to sew this like I was talking about, I can still use the pinned pieces, holding it in place to make it a little bit easier on myself. But since I've got one side pinned, I can just tuck in now, kind of start lining up my edges together. And I probably should go the other direction so I don't stab myself with my pins over and over again. And let's see what we've got. It's not the easiest process, but it's not like there's going to always be an easy version of everything. And as I do more of this, I might find more ways to do this kind of thing. The closest I could say that I've ever seen on this is that I saw somebody doing fabric masks. And this is roughly the same process that they took to put the eyeballs in, or the eye holes in. They would just cut those little wedges, line everything up, and then sew around it like I've been talking about. And truth be told, that's probably not going to be too bad of an idea. I've got everything tucked in. I just have to make sure I get really close to the edge. And if I do that, it should hold it all in place. And whatever misses, I can hand stitch to fix. I think that that'll work pretty well. So what we're going to do is we're going to try it. In worst case scenario, I don't like it, and this will be the only hole that I do that with, which sounds hilarious to say. All right, let's bring this in. Let's see. I like to sew on the right-hand side, so that's what I'm going to try and do here. I'm going to bring it as close to the edge as I can. I think I'm going to make the stitch a little bit longer. That way it's easier to find if I have to undo it for some weird reason. I'm going to pull this out. I am going to go pretty slow because I can't really tell where everything's at. Now, there are clear boots that I could use. I actually have one. Didn't even occur to me until just now. But that might be something I do if I try to fix this and repeat the process again. We'll see how this turns out to see if that's something that would even be needed. I'm a little bit worried that I've missed some of the fabric because of the fuzz. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. No, I'll just leave it there. It's not going to hurt anything. Oops. Okay, I can see some of it is trying to come out, so I'm just going to tuck that right back in. Trying to focus, so I'm not talking as much because of that. I'm also trying not to cough directly in your ears. Now, if you are ever wondering what kind of effort it takes to make plushes, you're seeing a whole lot of things today that kind of help you see how hard work it can be. It's also funny because in my mind, it's just a plush. I think to myself, I should be charging a certain amount just to make it as a livable thing. But no matter what I do, at the end of the day, it's not a necessity. And people are just going to view it as being just a plush. But these are all the steps it takes to figure out things, to make things as pretty as I want to. All those little details. All right, let's cut this up and see what we got. I'm going to cut off all the thread real quick. I'm going to run my hand along it to see if I've got any stray edges. It looks like that's good. It looks like I got all the edges in there. It looks like the thread managed to make it on all the way around. And there's our hole. I think that if I make a few different shapes, that hole will be fine. But I make like an oval shape, different tears and different sizes. I think that that's going to be a pretty solid plan. What do you guys think? I guess, well, yes, I've done it. By Joves, I have not heard that in so long. I have a very special connection to all my plushes. I've made only a couple myself, and they were awful. You know what? An awful plush is still a plush that you made with love, and I'll bet you still like them, even if you feel like they were awful. All right, so here's what we're going to repeat that. We're just going to go with that same plan, make a few changes to it. So we're going to do, let's see, I'm going to draw this up real quick. Get my material. There's the direction of the grain. For this one, we'll do something like that maybe? No. Yeah, I'll do it like a triangle shape there. I can only hand sew my sewing. It's awful, also awful currently, but I did. Yeah, even though bad. Yeah, it's so easy to fall in love with something you've made, especially with something that you meant to fall in love with. I think that, no, you know what? It's funny. I think this is the one that should have been the biggest. I think I want all of these to be a little bit smaller. I think it'll just look a little bit cuter. And then I'll make another small one here. Yeah, I think that's about what I'm going to do. Just make that as a small cut. In case you are wondering, yes, I have in the past cut into my finger, doing something very similar. I may have already made this a little bit bigger than I intended, but that's okay. Tuck all this back. I think if I do just these two holes maybe on this side, and then on the other side I'll do a bigger one, I think that that'll work out pretty well. So I'll just have the two holes here, and we'll see how that looks when we're done. I'm glad they went, honestly, I feel weird whenever it comes to me making stuff for people. I feel like I put effort and real attempt into it, but I also don't hang out with the type of people that feel like they have to have money. So I've gotten pretty lucky about my tiny little social circles, and I'll bet it's the same for you. I'll bet the people that you have in your life genuinely appreciate when you do something like that for them. And that's always a good thing to have. I lost the shape of my hole. Now I got to tuck it back in so I don't make this side too big. Maybe time to get some new scissors. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can get lucky, and it works 2 times. Once again, I'm just going to pin up the top side, and then I'm going to tuck it in and readjust my pin to capture the bottom side. I can already tell that a smaller hole is harder to deal with. But shouldn't be impossible. I'm trying to focus while I'm doing this because I've got weird light, I guess. Maybe if I just move my light over.
Let's turn the big light on.
It doesn't help. It actually hinders. Yeah, I tried. I let the top the room light on for a while, and I didn't feel like it helped me at all. Oop, try not to stab myself. And now I'll do the same thing. Don't forget the clear boot. Oh yeah, I'll go try that. That's a good idea. I definitely would have, because as I've said before, I am not much for changing things around because I'm lazy. Not because I'm lazy, but because I'm stubborn. I would definitely not call myself lazy, but if I don't have to do something every time, then I don't want to do it ever. But I definitely would have forgotten. I definitely want to try that. All right, let's get this finished pinning up, and then we'll see what happens. Let's... Now, what I'm trying to do, see, you can see some of these are a little bit tighter of a cut, so it pops up on me. There we go. And all I'm really doing is just, like I said, tucking in the wedges on the other side.
Okay.
So that everything stays end to end. I think I just saw one that was popped up here. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and readjust this one a little bit. There's that. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I've stabbed myself a few times, but I've got a hole in here. If I can find a shortcut, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's somewhere between finding a shortcut and just not changing anything. I'm going to learn how to do it this way, and I'm going to be stubborn about it. But this is something brand new, so let's find out if it works better. Be right back. Get my boot. And here it is, folks. The legend you heard of, the clear boot. It's not perfectly clear, but it works really well. It's an easy replacement. You'd think that with the way that I've been avoiding it, that was really hard to replace, but it is not. I am now done. Yeah, it was that simple. It's one of those things that it's ridiculous. All right, let me get this a little bit closer here. Get off my scissors. Move my light. And let's see. All right. Looks like it's a little bit wider too. So what winds up happening is I can see a lot more for two reasons. But it might be a problem because it's not holding down that side anymore. But we will find out in just a moment. Oh, wow, I took that way too far. Yeah, I could not tell at all, but that might be partly because of the hole. I wouldn't say that it is definitely easier with the clear one. It might actually be a little bit harder because of the width of the opening here. And when it's closer together, you can see that what happens is this holds more material in place compared to the wide opening that has. What's probably going to happen is I'm going to have to go back over. I think I can already tell that it is, yeah, I've got a piece. I've got pieces that are trying to stick back out. Tuck those back in. Pull my thread back. There we go. Tighten that up just a little. Well, let's see what happened here. I think there's a few things that kind of happened. And I think something else is tangled up. So What got stuck? Yep, my bobbin is stuck. All these different things. Yep, first off, let's go ahead and take that off. So it looks like in this case, because what's happening, because I'm sewing so close to the edge, that even though I can see it differently, it's not moving the thread or moving the material the same way, and it was not a benefit. So let's see if I got lucky enough where it at least worked. Otherwise, I have to unstitch the whole thing and redo that entire section. No, you did not. I had planned to do that. I really thought that was going to be something helpful. So I thank you so much for reminding me, because now on top of that, I have tried it and I know that it doesn't work. And that's part of my process too, is learning from my own mistakes. And I am very happy to learn from my own mistakes, but it looks like I got all the material in place. So it's not a problem. It's just not easier. So that's good to know. And here we have the wing. So I have another wing that I'm going to be doing. Exactly. We have to figure these things out. Honestly, I really do appreciate it, Shadow. You reminding me that kept me from wondering about it later. All right, so here's a question. Do you guys want me to add another hole in here, or should I just make the next wing and do like a big hole in the next wing along with a small hole? Absolutely no problem, Shadow. So what do you guys think? I'm going to show you as a rough example from my sketches. So in this sketch, this is what we used. I only had the 2 holes in there, so that's not far removed. What I'm talking about is on the other wing, I'm thinking about doing more of these elongated ones. So I can do an elongated one and then a small one as well. Do you think that I need to add a third one on this side? Okay, excellent, excellent. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the last wing. I might not have enough time to finish the whole thing, but I think that since we know roughly what we're doing, we have a lot less to worry about. What are you worried about, buddy? No, you don't want me to help you?
All right, my show's on.
Hey, get over there. Mommy's going to miss her show.
Come here, Mommy.
No, Mom. You go to Mommy.
All right, come on. Hurry.
Okay.
Chip, stop.
Trying to get all my material. Since I already cut it up once, I have this weird wedge shape. Oh, no. Don't roll over your material. Oh, don't roll over your material. Okay, here we go. Get my wing. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it goes towards the tip of the wing. Oops. My phone's acting up. I think I'm going to go. You have a great one, Shadow. Thank you for your help. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we've been getting a little bit better at keeping Chip in the other room. So that's been kind of helpful. All right, here we go. Bye. Are you leaving, Cat? Oh, bye to Shadow. Gotcha. All right, so let's go ahead and get these 2 wings, the last wing put together, and then we will find out how we are going to attach them. I probably will just have a rough idea look at it today, because I think we're already running out of time, but we should have enough time to make one more wing. There's my pen. Let's see if I can get a better angle. Nope, not really. Not without it being right in my face here. That's about as good as we get. Okay. Got to make 2 sides of this. Now, in case you haven't noticed, one of the things you have to do whenever you're making something like this, when it's got 2 sides to it and they're the same, you do want to make sure you flip it. Otherwise, you'll have 2 of the same and you'll just wind up having an inside-outside kind of situation. It's pretty common knowledge, and once you start working on something, it's really obvious. I'm just saying it as one of those casual things because I made a pattern not too long ago, and the person said that there were a lot of little steps that they didn't see that I never thought to write down. And that would be one of those things. Like I never would have thought to express that it has to be flipped in order to do a two-sided object, like a wing or something like that. So it's just a little statement, just casual heads up for anybody paying attention or wanting to start. So I did the first one like this. Now I'm doing the second one like this. I'm just trying to line it up within the material that I've got and the stuff that I've already drawn. This is just my way of saving as much material as I can. It's not super important. You'll find that if you're not worried about how much material you've got plenty, or for whatever the case may be, you might not need to worry too much. I do it because I try to be as frugal as I can, as often as I can, because I am still just starting out with hopes and dreams of making it big. Now, what it's looking like is that next week, I will probably be doing the feet, the potential gills, and the eyebrows of our cute Cthulhu. If there's anybody who is interested in helping me figure out what the next process is going to be, what the next project is going to be, my current plan is that once this guy is done, if I have not already finished, I am going to finish the jumping mouse, the Coraline jumping mouse outfit, which, let me show you, I think I've got it here still. Yep. It's still the exact same cat bee. I'm so sorry. This is going to be the outfit for the jumping mouse. I'm going to fix the sleeves, and then I have to do a little bit of embroidery. The sleeves are the part that I'm actually working on right now. I just have to get some measurements and figure out some details so that I can put them on there. And then, of course, the hat might be a little bit easier. There's going to be a lot of little things that might become a lot easier. I should have already done that, but I promise it's because I've been busy. I've been trying to work on stuff, and I am doing so much better than I was, but it does feel like I'm behind, even though I'm just barely keeping up. Summer vacation just started. My son's very first technical summer break between preschool and kindergarten. So we're just waiting until school starts up in a couple months, few months, I guess. And go figure, day one, he wound up breaking his tablet that he's had for the last 2 years. So that's kind of made an adjustment on some things. He is just a little kid, and we spend a lot of time with him. So it's kind of hard to tell him, no, I need to work, because he's just not used to that. He wants to say, Papa, 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 all day long. And then what makes it funny is that while he's home, Chip is super barky because Chip barks a lot at him. So like the house becomes this boiling point of stress. I know it takes time. You have your plate. I appreciate that, Cat B. I do want to make sure that you know that I'm working at it as timely as I can and as fast as I can, because I don't want you to feel like I'm ignoring you. But yes, it is a lot of stuff sometimes. Okay, get this wing cut up. If I am lucky, when I do the sewing on the outside for the femur, I will remember to make it big enough that I don't have to worry about the armature getting stuck up like the last one. But I'm already worried that that's going to happen. I'm already anticipating that I'm going to make it too tight again. And that's just because I want to make it small. And I don't know exactly what is going to wind up feeling like too small or too big when looking at it. I'm just going to have to keep in mind how thick my armature is when I'm working on it, just to make it a little bit easier. And it doesn't need to be adjusted much. It just has to be adjusted enough so it doesn't get super wedged in there like it did last time. And again, it's kind of funny. I'm making something so big, and this part it's so easy to do that I barely even have to think about it. And then immediately after that, I have to cut these weird holes and then make those holes the right size and pin it all down. It's funny how different parts have such vastly different difficulties. Of course, it's like that with any project I've ever done, but still, that doesn't make it any less comical to me. And we are approaching 8:30, so I don't know if I'm even going to get this wing completely done. I'm at least going to be able to get to the point where I am sewing on the sides. Maybe I'll be able to cut the holes and we can kind of agree on what we like for that. I had mentioned earlier that I would probably not be pinning this in place if I were doing it under most circumstances. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to run with it as is and see if I can't get it to stay lined up. I know that they are not perfectly in sync, but they should be close enough where I should be able to just kind of estimate and hold it in place. And as long as they don't slide around too much on me. I do hold it pretty tight when I'm sliding it through, so that does make a bit of a difference. I just made my stitch a little bit smaller. I forgot that I had made it bigger to make it easier to fix those holes. But you can see that I am really just holding it in place with my fingers. I don't feel like I have to keep going. I can stop after each section. As long as I don't pick up the boot to move it around, I don't have to worry about it actually breaking the line of my thread. But this is what I was saying earlier. If you don't want to pin something, don't pin it. You really don't have to. There are some things you really will need to, and that's totally okay as well. There's a lot of things that I do pin when I'm making my mice. Well, not a lot. There's a big thing that I pin every time when I make my mice. But even then, that's just because that's how I found it's easiest to do. Not because I have to, but because it's the easiest. Good turn. Try and line this up beforehand. That way I know that it's going to head in that same direction. Nothing too difficult, too amazing here. But you can see that even without having the pins in place, it's not hard to get it to line up and stay how you want it to look. So that's helpful to know. I do still advocate for using pins when you are learning. As an example, when I did my first wing, since I didn't know what to expect, it was just easier to pin it. But even if it doesn't perfectly line up, to something like this, the wings don't need to be exact. If I were sewing the belly onto a chest, I would need it to be a certain amount of precise. But even then, I don't have to worry too much. And we are good to go. Now, a lot of times if you are doing something like this, you might find that it's better to run your chopstick through it to press up against. Let me show you what I mean. To press up against your seam. And the reason for that is to make sure you don't miss anything. Sometimes when I have a lot of curves, or if it's really precise, like if I needed this to be exact on the edge here, I would probably wind up missing some of the seam because this might fold under, it might stretch. But what I would wind up doing is using the chopstick to make sure that everything got sewn in place. Once again, I'm also cutting this little bit of excess loose at the corner because I want it to take as much of that shape as I can. And I know, as you can see right here, if this is inside it out, that's going to fill all this area up. And it's just not going to be quite the same shape that you might particularly want. You do have to be careful not to cut your thread, but just go slow. You should be okay. And even in this circumstance, I'm not worried about making it perfect. If I was, I would make this wedge way wider, so that when I did right side it out, I had more space for it to take the shape that I want. Let's see, that's so smart. I don't know why I haven't thought about that. Cutting the edges off. Yeah, it really is. When you wind up having like toes or points of your ears or stuff like that, the little difference will make a big change. And if you're worried about it the stitch becoming a little bit weak, hey, Seal. If you're worried about the stitch becoming a little bit weak, you can zigzag another stitch over it right there at the edge and reinforce it. How you doing, Seal? It's been a little bit. Wasn't sure you would make it today. I've been seeing you in my comments lately. It's been making me happy in my heart. I think Catbee is still here, and there's a few other people that have been coming in. Spaz has been here. I don't know if you know any of these names. These are people that have been watching me for a little while, and it makes me happy. And I like to mention them so they know that I appreciate them. And Seal has been here a couple times as well. I believe I was talking to Seal about something else not too long ago. It may have been regarding a plush. It may have been something in my comments. I can't remember. What happens is that I wind up being bad with names to begin with. So what happens, I tend to remember the faces, which means I remember the avatars being used. All right, so again, I want to make sure that I leave probably about a knuckle's worth here. So this is going to be a little bit bigger than the other side, but that's okay. We didn't know for sure at that time. All right, so we're going to run this at a little bit wider. Now what we're doing is we are making the femur so that I can run my armature through it. I'm going to stop right about here. I just have to keep that in mind. That seems like a good place to stop. And that way I can run it down again. Don't need to go all the way to the bottom, and it doesn't matter if it's the exact same as the previous wing, because again, this is kind of a monster. So if it's not perfectly even, we don't have to worry too much about that. Again, I want to keep this seam as close to the same shape as I can. And that's just because I want it to maintain its shape. I think that that'll be good enough. No, let's go a little bit higher. It looks like that's pretty big. Only a few stitches, but sometimes it makes a difference. And if you don't know, now you know. Okay, once again, line up my seams as best I can so it makes it nice and straight. Trying to make sure I keep enough space in here for me to get my armature in a little bit easier than I did on the other wing. Oops, I think I'm starting to make it a little bit tight. Now, with the previous one, my plan was originally to leave it so I can sew it or put the armature in it. Because I didn't quite realize how big the armature was. It made it a little bit tight and a little bit hard to get in. But this one, now I can start making it thinner because that's just where I'm going to stuff it. Bring it all the way off to the edge. Backstitch a little bit. And that should be good. Cut off this once again. As a casual reminder, I am not shearing that off. I am sawing it off. That way I don't have to worry about accidentally cutting my material. You do want to be careful not to cut your fingers, but that's kind of a general habit to get into, is not trying to cut yourself. Do you have a favorite plush you've made for someone? Let's see. I made here, let me show you what I made. So for Valentine's Day, several years ago, I wanted to surprise my lady with a plush. So I made a possum. Gave the little hearts for Valentine's Day, got the hands, and I put the armature in the tail so that it could hang. And this is one of my favorites. After this, I just recently made this guy. I was trying to make a Gengar, a goofy Gengar like I do for my Monday not Pokemon Day. And my Gengar just looked super goofy. Didn't look anything like my sketch. So I turned it into a Mimikyu Gengar. And I kind of really like this guy. This one makes me happy. Because I've seen people make the Gengars or the Mimikyus, like different Pokemon. And what winds up happening is it looks too nice. And this one looks so goofy that it really looked like what I thought a Mimikyu would try and do. Because think about what the Pikachu looks like that he made. So this is probably one of my favorites right now. But other than that, it was this that I made for my wife, my then not wife, as a Valentine's Day gift. And I've made several of the possums since then. I actually really enjoy making those possums. I've also made bats and rats. And, oh, my phone's about to die. Let me plug in real quick. So it seems that 2.5 hours is probably the extent of my battery life. I'm going to go dark for just a second because I have to unplug my lights. I have to get all this stuff readjusted so that I can get this plugged in. Okay, there we go. I have readjusted. Oh, I still have not plugged in. There we go. Excellent. I think that's it. There we go. At 1%. No. It's trying not to stay plugged in. I think I made it just in time. 1%. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of sewing on the edge of this wing, but we are going to call it a night right here. I really appreciate everybody coming in. Thank you so very much. I'm sorry I had to cut it a little bit short. I thought I had enough of a charge to make it my usual time. Yeah, cut it super close. It's a 5-year-old phone. You would think they would be strong enough to be able to handle this much time. But also, we also know that companies don't make phones to last. So that kind of sucks. But at least we got most of this done. So again, next week, what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm probably going to finish up the wing. If I haven't already done that, I'm going to try to finish the wing while you guys are gone. But as I've mentioned before, I don't always have time to work on the live stuff before I actually do log on. So if I don't, we will finish the wing together and we will make some eyebrows. We will figure out what we want to do for the legs. If you guys have anything that you are interested in seeing for different parts of this, our Cute Cthulhu has a long ways to go and we have a lot of different options to things that we can try. So I am more than happy to add or subtract or change some different things. So if you wind up looking up Cute Cthulhu and you're like, oh, it would be great if it had one of these things to it, let me know. I am more than happy to work on that. I mean, this wing, we completely came up with this idea. I mean, we knew we were going to do a wing, but we didn't know if we were going to do a small wing, if we were going to do a big wing. We decided to add holes. We picked a shape together. So we got a lot of options on things that we can do when it comes to the next weeks. Again, I want to thank you guys all so much. Seal, Cat B, Tina T, Spaz. I want to say John, if you're still here, although I think you might have kind of tried to cause some problems. I'm still going to blame you for this needle thing. Seal, thank you again for coming by. If I missed anybody's name, I think Charlotte as well. You've helped out a little bit as well. Anybody that I missed, I apologize. I am getting way better. I've already got like 6 names I've added to my list from memory. I'm probably going to have a whole thing set up. Keep an eye out. We're going to figure out what we're going to do with this. When we go live again, I just really enjoy them. Okay, so I go live on Mondays and Tuesdays. Monday I do Not Pokemon Monday, and Wednesday I do Weird Wednesday. Like, for example, doing my Cute Cthulhu today. Let me go ahead and show you the progress we made on that. So here's our Cute Cthulhu so far. Made this whole wing, this holy whole wing. I am trying to figure out a way to add more days to my schedule. I might be doing lunchtime schedules. So if anybody has any suggestions on that, I am open to hearing what you guys think. It is summer break, so my son is home. I've got a little bit of an adjustment to what I'm doing. Is it at the same time? Yes. Monday is at the same time. And that's when I did, for example, most of this Gengar. I tend to finish them offline. If you guys give me a second, I'm going to go snatch up my Bulbasaur that I made Monday. I'm taking the Bulbasaur for a minute. Where's Bulbasaur? Oh, no? Okay. Yeah. It's in your room? No, it's not in here. That's okay. I'll just do it another time. Well, I thought I was going to show you. Oh, there it is. This is the Bulbasaur that I made last week. Sorry it took so long. Oh, this week I made Bulbasaur. So what I try and do is a new Pokemon from Generation 1 and 2 every Monday. Then I'm working on this weird idea for Wednesdays, but I'm also trying to figure out another day that I can do something else that's fun as well. So let's see, maybe Mouse or Bunny Day, that small one. Yeah, I thought about that. I could just do mice because I'm doing those for orders anyway. So I might do those on my lunch times. So if you guys are interested in a time, send me a message. Help me figure out when it would be a good time to go during the day instead of at night, or on a weekend maybe, or maybe even Friday. Thank you all so very much. I hope you have a great day. Everybody stay safe. Thank you again for coming by.